Hello guys, welcome back to taaaylorPOP. Today we're going to be taking a look at a diorama piece that I built recently. This is an Imperial starship hallway kind of look. Nice and easy, nice and simple. I'm going to list on screen the materials you will need to make this happen at the most basic level. I'm going to talk through the process, nice and simple, and kind of what my thoughts were behind it and what kind of scenes I want to recreate with my photography. And obviously this can be used as a display piece on a shelf or something like that, or it can be used in you know, your toy photography as well. So we're going to jump into it. Subscribe if you're new, leave a like, and let's jump into it. So what we've got here is the new Stormtrooper for scale. This is 6-inch. I do everything to the 6-inch scale, excuse me. And basically what we're doing here is we're getting foam board and we're measuring shapes, cutting out, hot gluing, and then painting, and then going in and adding detail at the end. So what we've got here is a door that's just removable in case your scene doesn't need one. Then we've got the main hallway, as you can see, and we're going to go into this a little bit more in depth in a moment. And then we've got just a base plate. It's just a nice piece of EVA foam. Now it's nice and simple. What we need to do, if I turn this around, is we need to have a ceiling, a front and a back, although obviously it's relative to which way you have it flipped around. Side wall with 2 panels, lower and top, same on this side. Here we've got 1, 2, 3 pieces to make an opening sort of doorway, as you can see, and then basically that's everything we need. It's just these nice and easy foam board pieces that we've used in the other builds. Again, you can use other materials if you so please. If you're able to use wood, for example, you know, acrylic, plastics, that sort of thing, foam board, EVA, whatever it is, as long as you follow the kind of simple steps, it will work either way. It's more about cutting and sticking the correct shapes together, and obviously the colour being the kind of right colour, but in terms of the details you can sort of take liberty with that. I like to stick with the greys and the sort of silvers because it's the most kind of starship, you know, looking colour, and all of these angular shapes, they're just much better than just, you know, a rectangular block hallway. And obviously in Star Wars, of course, we always see these kind of angled, you know, angled hallways, and I just think it looks fantastic. If you look at the shapes of the doors, it's much like the blast door diorama piece, same kind of concept, just without the actual blast door pieces. And then obviously when you look at the shape of the hallway, just sort of resembles many a starship in Star Wars or Death Star hallway, or, you know, that sort of thing. The kind of vision I was going for was in the new Mandalorian series, when you see, you know, the famous scene with Man in Jeans, that kind of look with, you know, the corridor and the kind of doors at the end. But from watching things like Rebels and Clone Wars and seeing things like, you know, with Mace Windu's quarters and that kind of like hole in the wall piece here, I kind of was inspired to have, okay, well, what if we had, you know, a hallway but leading somewhere, you know, a little bit more interesting than just a hallway. What we've got inside is just a little bit of detailing, you know, just some, if I can get it in focus, some stick-on panels that I've kind of added. You'll probably see it better from this side. These kind of stick-on panels. There we go, the kind of thing that, you know, R2 would use to unlock a door, or a trooper might use to sort of get on the comms with, that sort of thing. and then what I'll do is flip it around and make it easier to see. Just a little bit of foam here, as the joins weren't completely flat and I didn't want to show any glue, just long strips of foam just glued on top of them to make it neater, get some straighter edges. And then again with this build, much like the blast door diorama build with the base plate on that one, this Imperial logo is just nice and simple. It's like a kind of laptop logo sticker, or it goes on car windows, and again they're very cheap and they just add a little bit more detail. You don't have to do that if you want to have something that's not necessarily Imperial, but I just think that this screams Star Wars to me, so I thought that was a nice addition. Now what we have here is the door piece, and again it's just a piece of EVA foam sprayed grey on the back, just because if it needed to be sort of shown in shot differently, I didn't want it to stick out like a sore thumb, so it could blend in a little bit and I could work with that. And then on the front, this is just a printout of a kind of door from Star Wars. It's typically the kind of door that you get from Tatooine, but I kept it in black and white and just kept it simple. It's that just Star Wars-esque kind of style door, and then basically all you would do is slot that in. Again, you can secure it more so if you would like to with things like blue tack, magnets, glue, whatever, depending on pins, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. But as you can see, kind of the idea with this is that it slots in like that, so that when you're doing a shot like this, and this door is in shot, not only can you kind of see it from the standpoint of it looks more realistic, because not just seeing random bit of your office wall or something, but also because then you don't have to put another backdrop on that side or do any editing there. It just kind of makes your life easier. So that's the kind of thought process that went into that. I'll put that there. So with the foam board, it was much like the blast doors. It's measure a rectangle on the front, then pick 2 points and with a ruler mark them just a little bit further out in the rectangle, create a triangle, and then with the new shape you've made, like hexagonal 6-sided from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you can cut, and that gives you that blast door kind of shape. And then you would obviously repeat that twice, once for the back and once for the front, and then again one big flat piece for the roof. You're going to have 2 long pieces for the sides. Now basically what you're doing is you're cutting out a piece that is the same length as we've got here, same width but a little bit longer, and then basically all you're doing is, instead of gluing it in one, you're splitting it in half, and then you're not gluing it like that, you're gluing it like that. And it's that simple. It looks a little bit more difficult than it is. It is very, very simple. And again, once you get hands on with this, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. It's just so much simpler than it kind of looks when it's finished. But again, it's just a case of cut that out, hot glue that to the front and the back, and the ceiling piece here. Now in terms of process, I would probably go down the route of glue the one side panel to a front panel, then do this side, then do a ceiling, and then finish by doing the other side, because it helps, because the support of the structure is there for when you're gluing other pieces. If you do it another way, although it may work, I think what you might find is it's quite difficult to kind of hold it upright and navigate putting it together that way. So I would recommend doing it in that order. In terms of with the door, this is where it gets a little bit technical, but again, it's very simple. Now what you're going to do is, with these pieces, before you have cut them out, although you can do it after you've put it all together if you want, because foam board is so easy to cut with like an X-Acto knife that it's really not going to give you much fuss. But if you do it first, it might be easier for you. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to measure the height you want, like a 6-inch figure clearance, enough to get him through the door. Add whatever you want to that. For example, like Chewbacca is what I was thinking of, and Darth Vader, these taller figures. I thought, right, give some extra clearance. Then you're going to basically just measure in on one side of the one panel that you split into two. Before you split it into two, just draw yourself a nice simple rectangle in the middle of the piece, cut that out, then cut it in half, and then you're going to get this opening. Now when you glue it together, what you're going to have is this opening, and then you can get two pieces of foam board again. You can measure what angle this is at and match it with the cut of your foam board. As you can see there, it's nice and simple. It's the sort of thing that you know, if I was doing a build kind of from scratch and showing you, I'd be able to show you very easily. And once again, like I say, once you get going with this, you'll see how easy it is. But obviously I've already finished this, so I've got to kind of talk you through it. But again, it's just about, you would put the foam board up, trace a line, and then you've got your angle. You can cut it out, and again you can adjust it, sand it, and I would recommend getting a sanding block or something. Really helps with foam board and stuff like that when you're trying to just curve an edge or just smooth it down to to be flush. And then you're going to get just a little piece, depending on how far your piece protrudes, and then you're just going to glue that on top. So again, what you're going to have is this shell, and then what I did was add these pieces just to make the any glue and the creases of those two things meeting tidier, because what I found was that it wasn't completely straight, it wasn't completely uniform, and any glue bleeding through kind of ruined the illusion. So what I did was just go in on that side and fix that, and duplicate it on that side, and it's that simple. And I mean, obviously, like I say, I would glue it together and then spray paint it all. I wouldn't spray paint it and then glue it, because then what you get here is that you've got the clear glue dries, and then you can spray paint it when you spray paint everything else, and it turns grey, and you can either pass it off as this kind of like weld, metal welding look, or for example for me, this piece is going to be on the outside. Typically I'm never going to take pictures of it. Pictures are always going to be of the internal scene, that's why I cleaned it up in there. But what you're going to get then is a nice equal grey throughout. You can go in any bits you miss in corners, nooks and crannies, go in, paint the whole thing grey, let it dry, come back, do that as many times as necessary. I did a couple of coats on this one, but again, like I said, making sure that the internal part that you wish to use is covered well is the most important point. If you didn't paint out this stuff out here, that wouldn't be a problem either, but I kind of did that because I thought it would be better in the long term. Now with this build, I'm not completely finished. I do plan to put some LED lights in here. One, because obviously as a corridor like this enclosed, you're going to struggle with lighting for pictures unless you're lighting from the back and front and through the side, because obviously how is the light going to get in there? And also I thought it would be nice to have a light strip kind of running down the center, like it was a Star Wars ship of some sort, just because that's the sort of thing that I think you would see in the real kind of screen accurate ships and stuff like that. So from a pragmatics point of view of being able to light the figures sufficiently for photography, obviously that's what you want to achieve, but also just a bit of lighting in your piece that fits to the piece. If you've got a strange shaped, weird coloured light kind of hanging from the ceiling portion, it's going to shatter the work you've done and the illusion of the whole thing. But if you have a light strip kind of like, you know, the LEDs you can see I've used on my bookcase. It's the same kind of set of LEDs and that type. If you run that, you know, down the center coming down from the ceiling, not only does it actually look a little bit more realistic if it's in shot, if it's not in shot, it's sufficient and kind of the right kind of way to go. So although you can do it other ways, I would recommend getting just a small LED light strip with a USB end, and I'll show on the channel when I upgrade this a little bit more. Now again, if you use this for a display, it's the same deal, you can do the same thing, and I would recommend the lighting for a display, because obviously otherwise if you've got this on a bookcase, although it might look it will look fantastic, because of course it already does, if it's quite dark it might kind of ruin your display just a little bit in that regard. But you know, lighting can change so much in terms of display, photography and film. Lighting is very, very key, and I think a lot of people don't understand that, and rightly so, because it's behind the scenes, they don't see that. But that's why I love behind the scenes photography videos and things like that, and information that you get on YouTube and Instagram from other people, you know, like my man Jared, Sir Dork, seeing what people do with their lighting and that sort of stuff. It's very helpful from a standpoint of trying to get involved and recreate and progress yourself, but also it's useful from a point of learning about it. You know, before I really got into it, I didn't see how much went into it behind the scenes for some of these amazing pictures, and I thought, God, I could never achieve that. And once I saw that, oh, it's very simple to do, it's about, you know, the camera settings, the lighting, whatever, suddenly you just elevate your craft, and you're way more capable of achieving what you want to achieve. And I think that's great. So yes, in terms of the use of this, it's obviously very, very versatile. It's, you know, a starship corridor looking thing, and in terms of Star Wars, no matter the ship, it's going to have this kind of look. And again, like I say, with the Imperial logo, you can choose to or not to do that. It's completely up to you, but I think this is very, very versatile. Yeah, so I'm gonna wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and I hope it was informative. Be sure to let me know if you've got any questions down in the comments, and I'll try and help you out as best I can.